These are the 1987 TMC RTSs. The first TMC RTSs in New York City Transit, and in fact, the first TMC RTSs ever made. Now, their fleet numbers range from 4600 to 4899. Now let's go through the list of depots that got these RTSs. So, 4600 to 4684 were delivered to Fifth Avenue Depot, present-day Jackie Gleason Depot, while 4685 to 4724 were delivered to Elmer Park Depot. 4725 to 4754 were delivered to Flatbush Depot, while 4755 to 4824 were delivered to the 54th Street Depot, which has been demolished and closed way back when. Anyway, 4825 to 4854 were delivered to the Hudson Pier Depot, which has been closed since 2003. And last but not least, 4855 to 4899 were delivered to Castleton Depot. So, and also 4850 to 4899 also had 2x2 hard seats, but what were later converted to soft seats for express service. Now, these RTSs, unlike the GMC RTSs in 1986, these are T80206 RTSs. And this model went on up until, I want to say, once Millennium took over in the mid-2000s. And these RTSs were pretty much the same like the GMC RTSs. Only difference is that, TMC took over the production. And just like the GMC RTSs, these signify the use of the Detroit Diesel 6V92 engine, which sounds like this. So these RTSs, I have to say, were just straight up, all out good buses. And to this day, these remain a favorite among many bus fans, transit fans, and rail fans. Me, personally, I have a lot of memories of riding these RTSs on Manhattanville routes and on mostly Elmer Park routes. I remember back when I was 5 years old, my grandmother and I caught 4771 on the B4, and we caught that bus round trip. And that driver hauled ass. And that bus sounded really good too. Which reminds me, I'm very glad Elmer Park kept these buses as long as they did, because they took really good care of them and ran them well. Hence why you still see Elmer Park Depot with RTSs to this day. But unfortunately, we lost 2 units, one of them being 4685 in the infamous 1994 Bedford Avenue and Shore Parkway crash. What happened was, the female operator fell asleep on the wheel, causing the bus to veer off the road and careening into a house, seriously injuring the driver. Whether she survived this accident or not to this day remains a mystery. And a few years later, on November 26, 1999, RTS 4662 was apparently involved in a head-on collision with a fire truck, killing the driver instantly. May he rest in peace. Now, in honor of our fallen drivers, please join me in a moment of silence. It is sad to say that both of these buses were scrapped shortly afterwards, and me being someone who loves the RTS very much, I have to say it is pretty painful. But anyway, like I said, these RTSs were just really good buses. And in fact, There were no complaints from the passengers or drivers. Yes, of course, there were some nitpicks by the drivers and by the public saying that, ooh, these buses, don't do this, don't do that. But other than that, these buses were good. In fact, these buses came with nothing but improvements. Better destination signs, better seating configurations, better driver configurations. And these buses will always stand the test of time. But unfortunately, for a while, these buses were pretty much on the back burner. Up until when most of the GMCs, well, not most of them, but a good number of the GMCs were starting to retire. Shortly after that, these buses were starting to get noticed a little more. These RTSs also, I have to say, these lasted for a hell of a long time. In fact, I remember seeing some last up until, I want to say, 2005, 2006 on mostly Fresh Pond and East New York routes. But sadly, once these RTSs were retired, not one of these was preserved. This kind of baffles me and upsets me because, think about it. The first TMC RTS bus ever made, ordered by New York City Transit, not preserved? That's just me. Well, but the main reason why these weren't preserved was because this wasn't really a big order. This order was just meant to bolster the fleet until later RTSs were delivered. Oh, and before I forget, before these RTSs were retired, I remember these buses became a bit louder than the GMC RTSs. And I can remember hearing these buses from a few blocks down. So, with that being said, this is Kal-El Johnson, thanking you guys for watching.